with a little bit of education on like the Earth's magnetic field and how that interacts with your biology, then saying, oh, well, yeah, the Earth's magnetic field is static, and now he's taking these static magnets and changing my local magnetic field. Of course that's going to have an influence on my biology, because if the Earth's magnetic field has deep evolutionary integrations, like we evolved in it, so of course we're going to use it, right? If that has those integrations with our biology, then other static fields that are different, that are created through these technologies, they're going to have an effect too.
We have been given the scientific knowledge, the technical ability, and the materials to pursue the exploration of the universe. To ignore these great resources would be a corruption of a God-given ability.
Hallowed beings of light and love, welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, my name is Stefan, and today I'm joined by Lynn McCarthy with Pure Potential Healing. She specializes in biomagnetic therapy, so we are going to have a dialogue on biomagnetic therapy, energy healing, some of the science behind it, but more just some of the personal experiences that you've had in that. So welcome to the channel. Thanks so much for inviting me out here, for doing the therapy. I just had some done. And maybe if you could just introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about yourself.
Okay. Thank you, Stefan, for having me today, and it was a pleasure doing a session with you. So
yeah, really powerful. Like, wow, I was really blown away.
Excellent. My name is Lynn McCarthy. I live up here in New Hampshire, and I discovered biomagnetic pair therapy 5 years ago. I had a friend that had Lyme disease, and it was undiagnosed for many years, and she was really sick, and she decided to look for natural ways of healing herself. So I followed her on her journey, and she discovered biomagnetic pair therapy, or biomagnetism, and it did so much for her life. It healed her and brought her back from being so sick. And I was so intrigued by that, I decided to go try a couple of sessions. And I was in my 40s, and my back was aching, and my hip made me hurt when I was doing yoga, and I wasn't feeling like I had a lot of energy. And I started going to some magnetic sessions, and after 5 or 6 of them, I had so much more energy. I felt better than I had felt in many, many years. All my clicking and pain went away in my back, and I was just amazed. And the whole therapy itself is just a beautiful way to heal. So.
And these are the magnets?
Yes.
So it's biomagnetic pair therapy because it's pairs of magnets they use together, and you'll be able to talk about how you specifically arrange them. But these are static magnetic fields. These are neodymiums, and the black is the negative, red is the positive. But that's why it's pair, because you use pairs across the body. Just wanted to put that in there now. Yeah. So you did 5 or 6 sessions and then noticed dramatic, like, physical improvements. You said clicking and pain and stuff, but then also what about your, like, emotional body, mental body, spiritual body?
Oh, absolutely. All of it. We say that we're trying to get everything back into balance, and I felt everything was coming back into balance in all areas. And spiritually, I feel like it was kind of an awakening for me spiritually too. I became a lot more connected with my spirit. So, I think that's part of healing is finding that connection. So that was very powerful. And so I decided after I started feeling so good that, I was looking for something. My kids were growing, and I wanted to serve, and I wasn't sure what that was going to be until I had the magnet sessions, and then I knew that I need to learn how to do this and help other people.
Okay. Yeah, it's interesting because, the body has electromagnetic fields all the way from like the atomic scale and up. And we actually have this electromagnetic field that extends out from the body beyond 2 meters. So a lot of people say, oh, it goes 2 meters. Well, that's kind of the end range of detection with some of our current technology. But based on physics of light, it goes out to infinity. So you have a thought, and it's circling around the globe 8 times a second, basically. Now, what's the strength of that? That's important. It might be insignificant, but it all just depends on the specific scale that you're at. That's what I believe. And so by using these static magnets, you're creating this highly complex magnetic field that is much stronger than the Earth's. What's the strength on these magnets?
They're about 1,000 Gauss.
And how many magnets are you using? Like, can you explain, like, 1,000 Gauss, for reference, the Earth's magnetic field is 25 to 65 Gauss, which is 25,000 nanotesla is 65,000 nanotesla. And that varies depending where you are. Like, Rio de Janeiro is the 25,000 nanotesla or 25 Gauss.
Mm-hmm.
So these are 1 order of magnitude, nearly 2 orders of magnitude stronger. You mentioned something about 10,000 Gauss magnets.
Yeah, there are obviously different strengths of magnets, but the doctors that have been working with these magnets for years have discovered that anything over 1,000 really doesn't, there's no change in the effects that they have on the body. So you really only need 1,000 Gauss per magnet to have an effect on the body.
And sometimes you're stacking them.
Not too often. Every once in a while, I might stack them, but not too often.
But you're pairing them.
I
creating these
pair
pairs.
them though. Yeah. So I may put one on the liver, and I may put a negative on the liver, and then a positive on the spleen, and that will create a magnetic field that pushes and pulls the magnetic force into the body. I'll have to edit that one out.
Yeah. The magnetic field lines have certain arrangements depending on whether it's emanating from the positive pole, the negative pole, and what's interesting is that the Earth's magnetic field is so large and global that effectively it's almost like there's not much variation within the human body. Mm-hmm. You can measure the strength variation with like a ground magnetometer, but there's no real local variation at our time scale. That doesn't mean it doesn't affect biologic processes. It affects various things that we've seen, like, let's say, ion channels and such embedded in cell membranes. But what I find really interesting about that is that you are creating this much stronger magnetic field, but it's still static. And it's highly complex now. Instead of it being effectively like a single sheet that's passing through us, it has all these twists and turns and, highly complex arrangements. But what I find interesting about it is not, like, that's interesting, but I find it really interesting about how you arrive to the placement of the magnets. Because I just had the therapy session. Thank you so much. It was really, really good. I mean, I felt so activated in terms of, like, my parasympathetic system, felt really, like, calm, but then also just felt like it was this deep rewiring. Like, you discovered that what was it, mantra, not necessarily a mantra, that thing to say at the end, like the affirmation to say at the end.
Yeah.
And that felt like it was like being stamped into my soul or something, like in a good way, like we're etching, like we're like the 10 Commandment tablet. That's what it felt like in many ways. Nice. But it was really good. And so how you arrive at the magnet destinations and how you arrive at some of these other things that are a little bit more on the metaphysical side, if you could go into that and then share some personal experiences there, I find that really interesting.
Okay. Well, just to kind of go back to the science, and I don't want to get into it too much, but the science that is already established with the doctors that have been using this technique for a while, you're basically balancing the pH in the body. And as we know, if you're too acidic or too alkaline, certain organisms can live in those types of environments, and then it will cause symptoms in the body. So using the magnets on certain points of the body will help balance the pH and bring you back to health, bring you back to homeostasis. So that's kind of the goal of the magnets. The way that I was taught to find out where to put the magnets is called kinesiology or muscle testing. And so I use the feet. So you were laying on the table and your feet were kind of dangling off the edge as you were on your back. And I use the feet. I have a list of pairs that I go through, and I ask if each pair needs to go on the body, basically. So I use it by asking the feet, and until you see it, it's kind of hard to understand what I'm doing. But as I ask the foot yes or no questions, is this pair good for the body? The right foot will contract up, and I'll know that that's a yes. And then, when I put the negative magnet on the point of the body, say it's on the pineal gland up here, the foot will stay contracted up, And then when I take the pair, the positive magnet, and I put it maybe on the thymus, the foot will relax, and I know that there's a connection, there's a resonance happening between the two areas.
That's what I felt. I mean, I felt that really clearly. Some of them are subtle, but then there's other times, and I was doing a very good job of just totally relaxing my body, deep breathing, but I could definitely feel the change in height and everything with my legs, which I found really interesting.
That's so interesting, yeah.
So you talk with biomagnetic therapy, you're using the magnets, but you're also talking to the innate human body.
Right. I in my experience, the body is separate from the mind. And so I am talking to the body. The body's giving me instructions on what it needs to come back into balance. And so I use the magnets to get the pH back in line and get the electromagnetic field of the body stronger, and to allow that life force energy to come in and heal the body, basically. And then other things that I can tap into the body and ask, or the body will show me that there might be a nutritional, something that they need nutritionally, or vitamins, or homeopathy, things like that. So we can, and if a client comes in and they say, hey, could you ask my body if it needs a specific thing? I can ask the body and give them that information, and they can use that information as they would like, or do research on certain things. So
it's a little bit of channeling there, but really just tapping into intuition to talk to these. I mean, if you develop your intuition, you can talk to your own, body yourself as well. Though this is a little bit of a deeper level, but I mean.
Well, many times people will come in, and I'll say, so why do you think you have this symptom? And they'll tell me what they think. And it usually is exactly what they think. So yeah, I think intuitively we know why our bodies are off balance, but we don't believe ourselves. And that's why muscle testing is such an incredible skill for anybody to learn, because it just gives you confirmation.
Or we don't want to believe it because maybe you really like your ice cream every night.
Exactly.
Right? Like, it's really good. You get the French vanilla ice cream from Haagen-Dazs. You're like, this is mind-blowing. But your body's
why can't I sleep?
Yeah, your sleep is off and you have candida or something. Like, I found, going back to the pH, I mean, based on my understanding of electromagnetism, bioelectricity, it would function at a lot of different levels, but pH fundamentally is charge-based. So whether you have, a lot of negative or positive charge, if you're alkaline, you'd be more negative. If you're acidic, you'd be more positive, right? And what's interesting is something like candida thrives in an alkaline environment. So if you have this yeast, that's just taking up so many resources, that's going to create, can create energy drain and fatigue, and it can settle in the brain, and immune problems, and really dramatic. I mean, it can get really bad. So yeah, at the as I see it, at the very minimum, you'd be doing pH balancing, because that's a more top level expression of some of these electromagnetic characteristics. But by altering these ion channels with the static fields, I'm going to talk more about the science in my other video on it, really go in depth. But by balancing that and changing these ion channel activations, that would then alter pH, right? Because if you have more calcium in your bloodstream, whatever, then that's altering your electromagnetic balance, your pH, and
if you are more alkaline, you do have more of a negative charge, and so you're going to see a lot of kind of joint pain and swelling in the body. And if you have more of a positive charge, you're going to see more contraction and hardness in the body. So so you can kind of tell if the body's too alkaline or too acidic by some of the certain symptoms in some people.
So why how do you think, I mean, the idea of muscle testing is really interesting, that you can talk to the body. I was just laying there. It's not like you're talking to me. Or I was just laying there breathing. And in my mind, I was just replaying balance. I welcome in balance. I welcome in healing. That's what his mantra
so powerful, right?
I was repeating. But it's, why do you think muscle testing even works? That's kind of a wacky thing that you can pull on a leg and it stays higher than the other for yes and the other one's for no. I mean, some way of communication, but what do you think that... Do you have any thoughts, ideas there? I'm curious to hear.
Yeah, I mean,
Because you're doing it all the time. You're pulling on legs all the time with your work.
I know.
I'm not.
I feel that, I guess personally, I don't really know scientifically how it's happening. I mean, we do have an energy body. We have a physical body. We have an astral body. We have so many different kinds of body, emotional bodies. I think that part of it could just be the physical body communicating with me, but I also feel like, maybe it's the higher self, the higher spirit, the higher guide that's giving the information.
Just ask and you shall receive.
Maybe. Yeah. I like that.
Yeah, it can be. Yeah.
Jesus used the heels to heal people.
The heels.
Isn't that amazing?
Yeah.
He would hold their heels and.
Oh, their heels. Okay.
Yeah. That's how he would heal.
Oh, really?
Yeah. That's what I was told. I haven't actually researched that one, so.
Well, it's interesting because there's so many nerve endings at the bottom of the feet. Right,
Yeah.
so it's one of the biggest energy channels beside your hand.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and maybe that's part of it too.
So then, maybe, I know the experience I had, but I've only been here one time and had like one therapy. But can you give an example of someone that had some issue, and then after their therapy sessions, what the end result was?
Yeah, sure. I had a woman who had a double mastectomy. She had gone through all the chemo, and her body was just really sore all of the time. She was cancer-free, but she had implants in now and just had never felt good again after having all of that. So she came in, and I placed the magnets on her where the body wanted it, and she came in twice. And after the first time she came in, I could only put on a small amount of magnets because her body was so imbalanced. And if you put too many magnets on, you can get kind of a reaction, like get sick or because it's too much. Yeah, it's too much energy, I think. And so and then the second time she came in, I could put a lot more magnets on her, which was a really good sign for me as a practitioner. It's like, good, okay, now her body's getting stronger. And then the third time she came in, she was just like, I can't believe it, but I guess her right chest area always felt like it was in this knot and tight. And she said, one day I woke up and it was just dissolved, and I feel like it's my body again. I feel like that, it's not this appendage that is fake on me anymore. It's just kind of, I have my body back, And she told her oncologist about it too, because she was so like, whoa. And so she continues to come and see me because she's just getting her energy back. She's getting like her mental state is improving, her emotional state is improving. So that was really beautiful to see that. So that's one. But yeah, I see a lot of I've had a very young woman come in that had a lot of migraines, had always had them, and doctors had said that it was all hormonal and there's not much you could do, and she tried different herbal medicines and other medicines, and she would just always get them around her period, and she came in for a couple of sessions and now she doesn't get them at all anymore. So it's a really, really powerful technique.
So where did you put those magnets for her specifically? Like generally, if you remember.
No, it's really hard.
A lot on the head, or
yeah. The magnets I can't even remember because they can go anywhere on the body. It's wherever there is the resonance is separated, wherever there's like a block and the energy's not flowing. That's where the magnets need to go. So
and then you create that static field that's much stronger than the Earth's, push through it, open up the channel.
Right, and let the energy in.
And then the natural bioelectric currents can begin to flow through that zone that was resistive before, perhaps.
Yeah. But most of them, I think, now that we're talking about the migraines, I've had quite a few people with migraines, and you do get a lot on the head, especially at the beginning. And then after 3 or 4 sessions coming in, they may be going everywhere on the body. But at the beginning, they seem to concentrate more in the head because there's blocks obviously in the head, the blood's not flowing.
Because I think it's interesting how there is like a lot that we don't know, and the muscle testing itself you could be skeptical of, right? But then you have to look at the end result. I think the end result is what is really important. And so you have someone that has a migraine, clearly some sort of like dysfunction with different parts of their brain hormonal system, etc. And then you, through muscle testing, find that you need to put them all around that region, and then the migraine goes away, or the migraine issues go away. So there's clearly some route there. But then by creating those energetic flux changes in that part of the brain, and that's that, then later the rest of the body as needed, you actually can like solve that problem. But it's arrived at through like this kind of metaphysical, like spiritual technology that we don't really have a scientific basis for.
Right.
And I can't, I don't think we're going to dispel that with this interview, but I'm just hoping that, perhaps there's enough kind of evidence and some other stuff surrounding it to then fill in that gap to some degree.
Right. When I first started getting sessions on myself, I really didn't understand what she was doing with my feet. I had no idea. And most people don't even, ask in a way. They don't really know, they're like, she's moving my feet, but, and I tell them I'm muscle testing you, but you still don't know it until you actually see it physically happening.
There was no conversation between us.
Yeah. And when I was in training, one of the more profound happening things in my life was actually watching the doctor holding the feet and watching the foot move on its own. And then afterwards, we would, we all practiced on each other. And, the first time someone's foot actually moved on its own in my hand, it's either through your thought. You can speak it, but even thinking it happens. And whoa, the world is a lot different,
Yeah.
So it's incredible. It's an incredible thing, and everyone can learn how to do it. Muscle tests, kinesiology, or even magnets if you have the passion for it. But I think as we progress in our evolution, we're all going to be doing it. We're all going to want to know. We all want to communicate with our body so we can take care of it as best we can.
When I was taught muscle testing, I've only really been taught it once. It was a small thing. It was a family gathering. And she was like, you really need to learn this. So we did the standing and the yes and no and the swaying and everything. Got some stuff there. And then she asked, she's like, let's think of something random. She's like, how old is Doug? Doug is one of the family members. Ask that to your spirit. And then the number that came into my head was 53. It just showed up. It's it was just the first number. And I was like, okay, well, that's the one, I guess. So then Doug was upstairs hey, Doug, how old are you? He's like, I'm 53. I'm like, oh.
That's nice.
It's not like he was 20. It's not like he was 70, right?
Yeah,
but there's still, a pretty big range there. At least, 10, 12 years that you can play with. But it was smack on it, so it's just, I haven't done enough to, really be okay, this is...
And it's a skill that you get better and better and better at. At the beginning, I was, the feet would move, but... It was a lot different than now. Now I feel like I've honed in and I'm in good communication with bodies. But at the beginning, sometimes I'd get people and every magnet needed to be on the body. And I was like, this doesn't seem right, And it's just it's that practice, that repetition. And I believe some kind of connection, or maybe it's even, a certain frequency that our bodies attain as we clean them out. If we get energetically aligned, we can communicate better with other subtle forces.
How often do you do the biomagnetic therapy on yourself? You're at home, I have 20 minutes, do some, you did the muscle test, and then you just put a couple on. Is that something you do? It's now just in your toolbox, or you really keep it to a pretty structured setup, you have your flow that you follow, or it can be done fairly simply too.
Yeah,
if you really know it.
Yeah. Sometimes I'll do it at home if I'm having a hard time sleeping. I might put some magnets usually on my head, and that will help me fall asleep. I feel pretty good all the time now. I do have a person that I know that does magnets, so we'll switch every month and we'll do magnets on each other. But I do know that, it is kind of nice to learn how to use magnets, and there are certain things that you can do for, say, an allergic reaction. You can put magnets on your adrenal glands. There's other pairs that are kind of a go-to if you are having some kind of reaction.
known energy routes. That just like, okay, this needs to be opened up.
Yeah.
Here's some good.
Yeah. Sometimes on the abdomen, if you're distended, you can maybe put some on the abdomen and see if there's anything down in that area. You can always play around with them. I mean, you can put them anywhere on the body intuitively, and you're never going to hurt yourself with the magnets. It's always, going to either do nothing or do something good. Yeah. That's what I've found.
If the biomagnetic therapy is working with not only the physical body, but the mental, emotional, spiritual, what's your experience or what are your thoughts on how like environmental energies affect that part of your body, like those different aspects of your being, but then also perhaps like how it can affect the therapy session itself? Like, have you noticed differences? You mentioned before this that you follow space weather, so you're fairly in tune with like, oh yeah, there's solar winds faster right now, and the KP indice is higher, so there's more geomagnetic volatility, things of that nature. Like you're clued in, so you have that in the back of your mind. So have you noticed that there's different outcomes under different, let's say, geomagnetic conditions or environmental conditions? Like you're in a nice, pleasing area. Like here, it's really beautiful. We're pretty immersed in nature, I feel like. And then also, how does that, like the actual therapy, like, is it sometimes maybe stronger? Like, can you just go into that a little bit? I'm curious as to your experience with how outside conditions can affect the inside and your ability to connect and all those things.
Right, yeah. I do think it has an effect, absolutely. It's hard, I have certain channels that I listen to and, know when maybe a solar flare is coming, or I think that when there is a lot of, I guess, I don't know if it would be positively charged energy coming onto the planet. I'm not sure what type of energy would be coming, but there are times when it's just, it takes a lot out of me, and usually it doesn't take anything out of me, but I'll get done with somebody and I'm on and I'm having a great session, but after the fact, I'll just be like, whoa, what just hit me? I'm just super tired. And other times I'm just totally charged after a session. So that might have something to do with what the planet's doing energetically. Yeah, I can't really answer. I haven't tuned into it enough to really give a great answer.
Some effect, but still, I don't think any of us really have clear understandings of this yet.
Yeah, but I do believe that absolutely it has an effect, and I also feel that what I'm doing on the person is having an effect on the planet.
Yeah.
Part of my intention is like, let this go out to anyone that would benefit from this, and I think part of it goes out to the planet for sure.
And for anyone that's watching, where are you located, in the name and just the details? So if they want to book a session with you, they can do that. Yeah.
I'm located in Portsmouth, New Hampshire, and my company is Pure Potential Healing. And should I give my phone number?
We'll put some information in the video description.
Okay.
That'll be good.
So yeah, I'm in Portsmouth, New Hampshire.
We'll put your website link there.
Okay.
It's a good website, good testimonials, explains it.
Okay.
And just because one of the reasons I wanted to do this, thanks for your invite out, but one of the reasons I wanted to is to bring more awareness to this. I feel like this is going to be something that has more acceptance, but also more like just people know about it in the future. And now that I've done the therapy, I'm like, wow, that was really great. I had a biofield tuning too a couple years ago, and that was really good. I can't say one was better than the other, but that one definitely, I just went in like, I'm just going to lay here and just repeat this mantra and breathe. And she's, doing some muscle thing with my legs and taping magnets all over my body, but whatever. But then I started to feel like these like energy rhythms. Like I could feel like the term that came to me was like energy rivers, which I thought was really interesting. It's like I could feel these flows of energy, and it wasn't every single time, it wasn't every moment, but there were some times that you put the magnet and then immediately I felt this current open up. And there's other times that you place a magnet where then I felt like pain, like a quick little jolt of pain. And I didn't have any like long-term pain during the session. I mentioned right before we sat down, I was like, I just feel like I just did a workout.
That's incredible.
Yeah, so and that was just magnets. I mean, we just basically drove up here today. I did yoga yesterday. That was a good yoga workout, but not enough to make my glutes sore like that. So I don't know. It is really interesting how these static fields can be so powerful in their effect, because a lot of people, downplay the strength of the Earth's magnetic field. Like, oh, well, a fridge magnet's stronger. It's like, yeah, but is a fridge magnet that strong everywhere? No, it's not. So there's like a certain quality to the Earth's magnetic field, clearly. Locally, that fridge magnet might be stronger. Duh. Like, okay. But then to then put these magnets and create this really complex like interference pattern, and what you're doing is
it's almost like a constellation is how I think of it too.
You're changing like the light environment, like the actual routing of light through your body. And the way I visualize is like, if we're born, we're pure potential, we're born, but then things happen to us and change and experiences and everything, and through that muscle testing and through talking to higher spirit, you find that exact like key for the lock. It's like, okay, this person might need this exact interference pattern, or pretty close to it, and then you put that on there, and then the resonance just shakes whatever off that needs to get shook off.
Yeah.
And then to explain it in simple terms, you're balancing the body's pH.
Right.
And it's like all these things and more. Anything that we say here, it's going to be less than what it actually is. It's not going to fully quantify it. And anyone that wants a full quantification, explanation, whatever, they're never going to get it.
Right.
So you just have to experience it. I feel like the best way to do this is actually experience it and see what it's like.
Exactly. And not everyone will get a huge benefit from it. It may not. I think the frustration with most energy healers is that we can't save everybody. Not everyone is going to get an extremely profound, but most people do. And, we do have this magnetic field around our body. And I believe that because of the way that we are in this life these days with the toxins and the emotions, like you're saying, and all the things that affect us in the physical body, it also affects the magnetic field of the body. And so if that's weakened, then you're going to be affected much more so by other things, by maybe viruses, or by other people's emotions, or by pollen in the air, So if you can strengthen your field, it's going to prevent other things from getting in. So, and
also strengthen connections too. If you find that resonant connection, all of a sudden now there is more energy for like, wow, that's like really powerful.
Yes, absolutely. So just strengthening all of that. And Manly Hall, I was watching one of his videos, and also being a person of integrity strengthens your field. So really keeping integrity in the forefront of your life. And as you start to feel better, you want to be better. So people are coming in with Lyme disease and feeling so horrible, and they've been sick for such a long time. And when you're feeling sick for so long, you just don't have the energy to be happy anymore, to like bring joy. Or so as you start to feel better, you start to feel more joyous, and you start to feel more happy, and you want to be giving more. And so it just works all together. And I've listened to some of your videos, and you're all about self-healing, which I feel the same way. Like my dream would be is eventually have enough people coming and either learning it or learning that they can heal their bodies on their own. You just have to tap into that innate way of knowing what's wrong, and you can do that through the muscle testing or pendulums, and there's many different ways of tapping into that. Or you can come to people like me that can help start you, but then you learn how to do it, and you take your power back to heal yourself.
And that's an evolutionary gift that we all have. The simpler life forms have an easier time. You cut off a salamander arm, and it's just like just goes back. Whoa, that's cool.
Yeah, but what if we could do that? Like maybe it's just our brain that's telling us that we can't do that.
There's so many documented cases of like pure instantaneous healings. Maybe not necessarily like an arm growing back, but there's this like crazy cancer stories, and I mean, it's
Joe
really
Dispenza, his back He broke his back. I don't know if you're familiar with Joe Dispenza.
A little bit.
But yeah, he broke his back, and he healed his body by meditating on it, and that's why he teaches what he teaches now.
Yeah, and I think just that the self-healing is really important. What I wanted to ask is, I mean, here there's ticks everywhere, East Coast. So like Lyme disease, that is pretty brutal. If you don't get that huge shot through the abdomen early on, I think that's what they do, right? No, it's rabies. Sorry, you don't want rabies.
That too. That's a common one.
But yeah, if you don't treat Lyme disease early, then yeah, it does stick. You can't get rid of it early if you just diagnose it and you see that bullseye pattern, whatever it is. But then yeah, it's one of these chronic things. That bacterium is really hard to like get out of the body. But the point of that is, or if you have like chronic fatigue or something, maybe just share your thoughts. Like, I'm curious to hear what you think about taking a negative feedback loop and then turning it into a positive one. Because I think at any moment, any negative feedback loop provides the energy for becoming a positive cycle. But it can be really hard to see that when you're in that. It can also be really hard to see how maybe if you're in at the height of your abundance, how things could change, right? Mm-hmm. So that's where, remaining humble is important. Things of this nature, integrity, not letting power corrupt. But really, there's, I think everyone's kind of experienced being in those low spots, and we found our own ways out of them, hopefully. If you are in one right now, then maybe share your thoughts and advice on. Just curious, I find that, that inflection point, like how do you reach that inflection point? What's that special quality that allows for you to jump from one to the other? I don't think anyone really has an answer. I don't know, but I'm curious what your thoughts are.
I kind of, they say in chaos is when change comes, right? So if you're feeling imbalanced or not yourself, something might be coming, and maybe accept that and kind of surrender to it, that, maybe I'm shifting into something else. And I also believe that, reaching out to people and, working with, or, I don't know, communicating with other people, or doing things that, make you happy, like fake it till you make it, and just kind of pull yourself out of it. But, I mean, I believe magnets can help with that too. My brother, I've given him quite a few sessions, and he, he was looking for a job, and he was getting pretty despondent, not finding anything that he really wanted to do and that made enough money to support him and his family. And after some sessions, and I'm not saying it was the magnets, but he got like the dream job of his life, and he's loving it so much. And he was feeling better, but I think the emotional part of it, or the blockages that he was having, I don't know, I think it allowed some abundance to come into his life.
You do 25 interviews, and the 26th one, if the other 25 are failures, you're like, well, this one's not going to be great. And you're not upbeat, and the guy's like, look at this guy, or gal, or it's like, really, where's the energy? Where's the vibrance? And then, it's almost like it just needs some sort of input, just a pattern break.
Yeah.
And just recognizing that pattern break is necessary, and then finding the smallest, easiest pattern break, like supplement or pill to take. It doesn't have to be an actual supplement, but it doesn't have to be this big, grandiose thing. It could. But then it's like people have like this defeatist attitude, like nothing's going to work. And it's like, that's I want to provide at least some maybe vehicle for how someone that's in that state, even something so simple, because a lot of people struggle with that. A lot of people struggle with like, oh, nothing's going to help. And their actual language is casting that spell of like, I'm bad at this, or I'm not this, or, I'm very unhealthy or whatever. And instead of saying, I'm getting better, like they're not at that step yet.
I'm better. I'm perfect the way I am, and I'm only getting better. Right. Just like you do the positive affirmations as you go into, your meditative state on the table. Every night I say positive affirmations before I go to bed, and I have gratitude in the morning. I mean, that is all energy that we're putting into the field, and that field surrounds us and goes out to everyone. You again, like, just if you say the words over and over, I am healthy, I am perfect the way I am, after a few weeks of doing that, you're probably going to feel a little bit better because those words have vibration to them. Your thoughts have vibration. I mean, my thought making a foot move or making this foot move, or I don't even know if it's my thought, but it's, it's my thought asking, is this a yes or no? And the foot moving, that's an energy, that's a frequency that's happening that that body's recognizing and reacting to. So it's so powerful. Our thoughts are so powerful, and so are our words.
I guess that's a good place to start, because you could, let's say, have some issue, and the best thing that could happen for you would be to go camping for like 2 weeks or something. But you have a job and all these other things. You have 4 kids, whatever. But one of the most subtle things is a thought. So just changing that thoughtscape. And a lot of your thoughts are just kind of there, passing. You ideally are observing them, or not necessarily engaging so much of them. But we do have this ability to choose our thoughts. So even if just 1 out of 10 thoughts is self-directed, and that's one of the simplest things we can do. That does take energy and takes consciousness, but consciousness is free. But how to cultivate that is, I don't know, maybe it's just starts with education, just like self-empowering.
Definitely education. And people have to look for it too, they need to look for it. And if we're doing it and we hang out with people, they might get a little bit of our resonance.
Definitely, yeah.
And then, even if they're not going to ask, how are you doing this? They're still we're still resonating at some level, and they're getting a little bit of that higher frequency. And I think that we're affecting everyone in a positive. I mean, we are evolving on the planet, that's no doubt. And as we evolve, our vibrations increase, and we help each other increase that vibration.
Well, that's an interesting thing, because since 1870, 50, we started developing these power grids. So the background electromagnetic environment has changed dramatically just in the past, let's say 200 years. And our body interacts with these different fields, extremely low frequency fields like the Schumann resonances, but 50 hertz, 60 hertz is just slightly higher frequency than that. But then you have all the cellular fields, and the DNA is this fractal antenna that has self-similar design. So a small component of DNA looks and has similar structure to a large section of DNA, which means it can connect to many different wavelengths. So they've shown that it can connect to a wide part of the electromagnetic spectrum and resonate with it. That's what fractal antenna is. And so by this changing of our electromagnetic environment in the past 200 years, that in it of itself is changing evolution. But then I feel like there's also a different evolutionary path that is based more on like a recognition of your light body and the self-healing, but on also giving back and increasing the overall like amplification of human goodness and love on the planet. And that's not from the power grid, right? That's not from cellular towers for sure. So where that changing of the electromagnetic field, where's that coming from? That's also interesting, because you have these two, it seems, almost competing, right? Like if we continue to build out our technological systems, that's going to create, there's really good research showing that's going to create like a lot of cancer and force evolution, and some people will adapt and survive, and the end result of that we don't know. But there's also clearly forces working to evolve humans in a different direction. And I mean, what do you think that is? Do you think that's maybe all like changing solar activity, geomagnetic activity, like dimensions beyond our understanding? I mean, why didn't that happen 500 years ago, or did it?
Yeah. Or way back. I mean, it could be a lot further back than 500 years ago that we had an advanced civilization that was probably a little bit different than this one. But, I agree that all the power lines and all the things that have been happening over the last 150, 200 years, I've read books that it has affected people's health dramatically, especially the heart. It affects the heart. People were having more heart attacks when they were putting satellites up into space.
Put your cell phone On your pocket right there?
Yeah.
Oh my God, don't want to do that.
Right. So there is an effect. It is documented. There is science behind it, but we still create more and more frequencies that are blowing through us all of the time. Yeah. Somehow we're acclimating to it, which is a good thing. Like, people aren't dying in droves, I guess. It doesn't seem so anyways. And but
the stress threshold, though, seems to be like the overall stress on the body seems to be increasing. Therefore, these symptoms are showing up more and more. Diseases, illness.
Yeah. Well, sometimes I think of it too as, we are, Ohm, the sound of the universe. Like, we're all sounds, right? And everything's creating from this one sound. And so we are trying to be in harmony in our body, in our field. And these frequencies, I feel, are affecting that harmony. So they're putting a discord in our symphony in the body. And so if we can get that core, if we can do something to tune it and get ourselves back in harmony, then we're going to be stronger and be able and heal the ailments that might be popping up, the symptoms that are popping up. So it's finding healing devices or techniques that can help do that. That's, to me, the future of healthcare. And so it will be intuitive, magnetic type of things. It might be MATs, PEMFs. It could be Rife machines. I think that it's a puzzle. I don't think one thing works completely, and I think that there's many different things that will work, and that's kind of the fun of actually discovering all these things are kind of magical, really. And so once you start going down that path, you're like, whoa, this is so much fun. And it can be a little expensive sometimes, but if it's making a difference in your life.
Well, earthing's free, and you said you started to do earthing,
I love earthing,
right?
Yeah, of course. Everybody should be earthing.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
what's your experience, if you'd like to share about, you've done the paramagnetic therapy, but then also, like, is earthing like some way to kind of like maintain your field, you feel like, or just, I don't know, share your experience with earthing, because I'm not like a energy healer therapist that's working with this, and like I do a lot to increase my like intuitive abilities and other like feel my energy, somatic system, all this stuff, but I'm not working with people every day in this regard. I'm more on like the education side of things right now, and like just broadening the awareness of these things, which is really good, and like presenting you to people so then you can talk about that.
Thank you. Right.
I'm curious to hear your experience with earthing, because I know it's
your experience. Yeah, I mean, absolutely. I any time that I feel like I'm too in my head and my thoughts are racing, if I go and sit in the grass or walk bare feet somewhere for a bit of time or work in the garden, like today I was putting mulch in my garden all morning, and when I came in today I was feeling so grounded for our sessions, which and of course, like, my sessions will be even better because I'm grounded and the energy's not going to be going kind of loopy and crazy. So yeah, and I recommend it to pretty much everyone that comes in, to drink more electrolytes or have more electrolytes in your body, because a lot of people are deficient in electrolytes.
Electrolyte.
Right.
Yeah.
And all you have to do is like take some Celtic salt or some Himalayan salt on your finger even, and drink water, and that will get the electrolytes. It'll get your circuitry connecting.
Celtic salt is really key. Another one too, a lot of people are deficient in boron, so you can take sodium borate, which is borax, and you can take the smallest pinch and add it to your water, or again just like that, and it's LD50, similar to table salt. So taking small little pinches inconsequential, but it helps you with magnesium, vitamin D absorption. Most people are deficient there already, and then of course if you add in healthy things like healthy cholesterol sources like eggs, that can help your hormone system and all this stuff. But
I didn't know that about the boron.
Yeah, that'd be another. You'd hope that you definitely would get some through the Celtic sea salt, I'd imagine.
Yes, like it's got 82 minerals or something.
You'll get more through organic food, but if you really are like, hey, I feel like I'm deficient now, or you want to make sure your vitamin D levels go up, and you're deficient magnesium, second most common, then adding the boron improves that by like 25 to 50%.
Yeah.
Also improves your ability to synthesize vitamin D from sunlight. So that's one that's really easy. And people like will buy the supplements. Like you can literally just take borax. It's totally safe.
Yeah.
And I was so hesitant when I first tried.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's great. I was like, what am I doing? I'm taking boron, and I bought the smallest little scoop. I did all the calculations for like the amount of elemental boron in like borax based on the chemical formula and how much of a scoop I need. So I bought this like micro scoop. There was a store that sold it online.
Yeah.
And I bought the little scoop, and then eventually I was like, oh,
Take a pinch.
It's the same thing.
Yeah. Did you notice something significant, or did you just
that's
adding on to like feeling better? Like, I still feel great.
There are people that notice, like men that notice like testosterone boosting effects, but can also it's overall will help to like kind of normalize the endocrine system. But I didn't notice anything like super apparent. Like, oh wow, like the boron, right? But it's one of those things like, yeah, every now and then it's probably good to just have a little bit and just maintain it. But I was already kind of on the healthier eating train. I was already like taking certain supplements, so already kind of on that wavelength. So not as dramatic, but plenty of people that have.
Yeah, but I've noticed that magnesium too. Many people are deficient in magnesium, including myself. We're just not getting it in our
that I've
anymore.
Noticed.
Yeah.
Magnesium,
and it helps me sleep at night. Absolutely, that was one of the other things that helped me get through insomnia is magnesium threonate.
Exactly. Yeah, that's what I was going to recommend. I just discovered that recently. I bought some supplements, and they gave me like a little sample bag.
Yeah.
And the guy knew, he's like, this guy's going to love it. So he gave me a little sample bag. He's like, this is great.
Yeah.
I would take like a third of the recommended dose. I don't think you need to take as much as they say. And it just seems to make everything nice.
Calms the nervous system.
Calcium's really interesting because calcium is one of like the main electrolytes of the body. Of course, super important for bones. And that's where your, a lot of your like red blood cells are produced, and your immune system, like a large component of your immune system's in your bones. That's where a lot of your bioelectric fields emanate from, and that's where your most pure healing potential is stored, like your undifferentiated cells. As a kid, you have a lot more of them in your bone marrow, and as an adult, you have less, but you still have them. And that's where they can come out and then like start to fill in tissues and repair and heal, not just like multiply cells or to cover scar tissue, but like actually reform from like stem cell activity. That's all in your bones. So calcium is really interesting because you need good calcium levels, balanced calcium levels to have good bone health. And I mean, like your brain neurotransmitter levels, like every single cell has like tons of calcium channels on it. But magnesium is also really important. It seems to be almost like right up there.
Yeah.
I've
taking
noticed
calcium as a supplement, I mean, is it better to get it through like would you get a bone broth, or like how would you suggest
the calcium supplements are odd. I don't know. I feel like there's this.
I feel like they don't really work.
Really diet based.
Yeah, right. So plants and
we build a stockpile as we're growing. So it's really then you're just managing your stockpile, I feel like. And that's the thing about dairies. Dairy has all this calcium in it, but then it also comes with a few other things, which are like, maybe you don't want to be playing with that because it's touching certain receptors and stuff, and you're activating your immune system to a certain degree. You can have lactose intolerance, but it's like pumped and loaded with calcium. It's just like, or some other.
But it's also pretty dead too. So all of the enzymes and stuff after they pasteurize it, they kill everything.
Yeah,
that's
raw
really
milk
good.
is different, but
raw milk is different, but I don't know. I like ice cream though.
Yeah.
We can get into the milk debate.
We talked about the Haagen-Dazs.
We don't want the dairy industry coming after us.
It's crazy though that there are so many like billboards for that. Like, why are they advertising milk so much? It's kind of odd. Hey, this is a little weird. Like, it's
what are they
milk,
injecting the cows with?
Well, why do you have to like put a billboard up for milk? It just seems
I know everybody buys milk. I
know. What's you really need to push this even more? Like, I don't know. I just
some kind of word spell.
There's some weird things out there. Some things that we don't fully understand, and
it's true.
I'm hoping that people at the end of this understand the biomagnetic therapy a little bit more. Well, I want to thank you for sitting down and talking with me about biomagnetic therapy and some of the other things surrounding it, and just in general energy and healing, and how you can cultivate that self-healing potential. I guess that's really the thing that I'm really working on. Like, I had my health and wellness website, Wild Free Organic, before YouTube, and I just started to do YouTube because that was a really efficient delivery platform. Had a lot of people want me to do a podcast, and I need to get that started up. This is like one of the first, so thanks for that.
Thank you.
I think this will resonate out across the cosmos for all time. That's the nice thing about this stuff. But the biomagnetic therapy seems to be a really good method for this, and then if it can, you book a session, but then if it can trigger innately some of these like self-healing feedback mechanisms and like cultivate that awareness endogenously, and like the person develops better inner awareness, I think that's really powerful. So
I do too.
And then every person that you work on, first yourself, and then every person that you worked on, changing the overall resonance to be, you could say, like higher vibrational, right? Just more in line with like spirit, I think is really powerful, and you're doing a lot of good with that. So thank you.
Thank you.
So much for doing that work. And if anyone wants to try the biomagnetic therapy, obviously you're here with your studio location, but maybe there's other resources for people in other parts of the country that you know of that you can share.
Yeah, I trained with Dr. Luis Garcia out of New Jersey, and he has a website, usbiomag.com, and he's got practitioners that he's trained throughout the country.
It's like a map.
On a map. So I would check out his website. It's a good website. I'm on that one, obviously, and there are many other.
Front and center, right?
Yeah.
The top
just
banner.
I'm in the directory. But so that's a good place to start looking. And then there aren't a lot of practitioners out there right now. So, we can always use more. So if anybody wants to train, you should, go for some sessions, see if you love it, and see if you want to join the club.
Well, what I like about this one, because I had the biofield tuning, and that you have this stainless steel tuning fork and you're hitting, and that's interacting with the aura. Too. Yeah, it was really good. I mean, I don't want to take away for anything from it.
It's just different.
Yeah, but what's really nice about this is I feel like biomagnetics has a pretty good shot of getting mainstream attention or respect, maybe sooner perhaps than some of these other therapies, because there's just a better understanding of like magnets. Like everyone's like played with magnets before, and everyone with a little bit of education on like the Earth's magnetic field and how that interacts with your biology, then saying, oh well, yeah, the Earth's magnetic field is static, and now he's taking these static magnets and changing my local magnetic field. Of course that's going to have an influence on my biology, because if the Earth's magnetic field has deep evolutionary integrations, like we evolved in it, so of course we're going to use it, right? If that has those integrations with our biology, then other static fields that are different, that are created through these technologies, they're going to have an effect too. And then the part that comes in is a little bit of the suspension of potential disbelief in terms of how you learn, like where you place the magnets and that type of deal. But that's just where just have the experience.
And see the results.
And I didn't die. I did not die from these magnets being placed on me. I felt actually like $1 million afterwards.
Okay,
so
good.
that's the thing. If you're worried about like literally dying from the magnets, then obviously you don't want the experience because it's not going to work. But if that's not an actual risk, then there's nothing holding you back from trying it.
Yeah.
There's nothing stopping you.
Yeah. I just think that it's not well known, and I thank you for putting more information out there for people. But many of the people that I see, they'll drive an hour to 2 hours away because they found information on biomagnetism, and they really want to try it, and and it works, and so that's the people, so it's getting the information out there, and then people that it resonates with will call and come in for a session or two. And
what's the worst thing that's happened from a therapy session?
The worst thing?
Yeah. And maybe it's nothing. Maybe it's actually something that people should know. But
the only thing that can happen sometimes, and it doesn't happen that often, is there's something called a Herkimer reaction. Yeah. Which is Herxing. So maybe the next day you'll get, you'll have a headache, or you might get nauseous, and it usually lasts for 1 day.
So a toxin flush.
It kind of is, yeah. And
or a die-off reaction.
Yeah, all of that, yeah. So it usually lasts for a day. You know, I always advise people to drink a lot of water with lemon in it, try and alkaline your body. You know, and take it easy the next day if it feels that way. And maybe the first session or second session they might have that, and then after that it doesn't happen that much anymore.
I just wanted to, and I didn't think this was the case, because if it was, I didn't think you'd be practicing. But I just want to make sure you haven't, like, done the... For people out there, I don't want to, like, you've done a therapy session and literally, like, someone collapses afterwards, right? Like... Oh,
no, never, no.
Because there can be things that you do, right? Like, there can be things that you do that cause people... People hire a personal trainer. Yeah. They'll work them until they collapse and, like, puke and stuff. Like, and that's seen as acceptable, right? And fine, and actually, like, you know... Yeah, push harder, but then it's like, oh, you know, this stuff is just it's dangerous. Like I want to make sure there's really no like danger aspect associated with this.
No, and you know, I do feel like we talked about who am I communicating with. You know, it's the body, it's higher self, whomever. You know, they're not going to want that stuff happening, so they're only going to give me guidance to do kind of what needs to be done and make sure that the body is okay.
That one lady, you only put like 2 magnets on her.
Yeah.
The first time.
Yeah, because that's what the body said. And she was a little disappointed, you know, and I said, I'm sorry, you know, I'm not gonna push it because, you know, I don't want you to get hurt.
So you went through all 250. You have 250 locations. Was that the number?
350.
350 locations you can put these magnets. And you went through all 350 and you only got like 1 or 2 pair locations for that person.
Yeah.
With the muscle testing. You're like, okay, no.
Yeah.
Now, was that when you were testing each one individually still? You were going through each number?
No. Okay. It was fairly recently.
Did you start to go like, you know, like 200,
is this working?
200 to 240, and you start to increase the range?
Yeah. And some people, you know, depending, I think, on if they've got if they get their electric body flowing, some people, it's really hard to see their feet move. It's, like, really slow, and so you have to be patient with some people because they don't have, like, you, where, you know, Stefan's.
I mean, I could
Stefan's energy is like,
I can feel it myself. And I was just relaxed. I was like, this thing's doing something. I don't know. Right leg can do what it wants to do. Left leg, you know. But it was interesting that, how you held them and how you did that. Oh, it's really interesting. There's something to muscle testing. I'm a little more convinced now than I was after I was guided to do the basic muscle testing intro by my family friend.
Yeah.
And now this experience has like cemented that a little bit more. I'm going to have to play with that more because that was...
Yeah, it's pretty amazing. And when you're muscle testing somebody else and you're not really doing anything except watching that person's muscle move on its own, you know, that's pretty convincing that, muscle testing works.
Well, a little bit, I guess we could add a little bit of science to this for people. Like the fascia holds memory and information. There's tremendous amount of information potential just in water, for example, which is 70% of the body. So there is like this huge amount of memory and information that's stored, like I would say non-locally for the brain, right? It's all within our body. And so you're just tapping into the system that's not necessarily having to go through the main CPU and back.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And then, the interesting part is the subtle energy signal that you're sending to the body to say, okay, give me a yes, give me a no.
Right.
But these are just, I think, probably just quantum interactions beyond our understanding, right? Because your thought form or your actual voice, you're saying it, has this energy stored in it. And then it's just triggering a quantum phase change or state, and then the energy feedback comes. And it's a complicated pathway that maybe is not super like, 1, 2, 3, and then 4.
Right.
But I can see how there's like, fairly clear logic to it. And our understanding of, I really like David Bohm. He has some really interesting theories on quantum dynamics, like the implicate order, the super implicate order, but just his understanding of order and chaos. It's a really good book. Science, Order, and Creativity. It's like lays out such a good... He's so careful in how he lays out like the thought process and like considerations and everything. And of course, he even lays out how his book in and of itself is, and his thoughts are like still not a full representation, of course. But the fact that he did that is important. The fact that he took the time to be like, and even this isn't right. I think is really kind of a step in the right direction.
Right.
So I'm really excited to see what happens. That's why I want to do this now, because even though people have been doing this forever, at the same time, like in 20, 30 years, this is going to be like a huge resource. We'll look back to it.
Yeah.
So
or something like it.
Plant the tree now.
Like everything's evolving, so we never know what's going to happen with the magnets and all of this, you know.
Yeah, I'm really
excited.
excited.
Our hands are magnetic.
They are.
So who knows? Like, at some point, can you do magnets? With
Yeah, I
hands?
mean, well, you can feel the energy fields if you do. I can feel it right now.
Yeah.
Anyways, fun stuff.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Much love, peace, love, blessings, all the things.
All right.
And yeah, hope to be back for another therapy session.
Yeah, I would love to have you back.
And yeah, welcome to the inaugural podcast episode, I guess. I mean,
Thank you.
I was on the other podcast with someone, but that wasn't mine. So this, I suppose, is the first podcast. So,
wow. I'm really
or
honored.
for podcast video.
Yeah.
Whatever it is. It's been fun. So
yeah.
Thanks for sharing all your wisdom and experience. And yeah, I wish you the best with your practice. And all the information for Peer Potential Healing is in the video description, and along with the more national network for biomagnetic therapy. So I personally recommend, if this is resonating with you, go check that out. I thought it was great. I want to do it again. Let's go right now. Round 2.
No.
Let's do all the healing today.
Every couple of weeks is fine.
So thanks so much for watching this video. If you like the video, like, subscribe, and I'll see you all in the next one. Ciao.
Bye.